Welcome to self-discoverywisdom.com, formerly known as Self-Discovery Media. On these podcasts, you're going to hear people who speak from the heart. They've taken the journey in life. Many things have happened to them, but they've changed it to happening for them. And in their strength, their courage, they've discovered their abilities and their wisdom, and they are now sharing it here with you. Do enjoy each show. We bring it to you with love and knowing that it's going to help you on your journey of life. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Building Your Business right here on self-discoverywisdom.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy. My guest today is Moneke Fields. A little about her. She is, in addition to hosting Remarkably Simple Podcast, she's the mother of a teen and preteens. She is a 10X certified business coach, speaker, and mentor. She's also a certified life coach and personal transformational trainer. Combining these tools with skills developed during her 24 years as a school teacher and leader, Moneke guides youth entrepreneurs and leaders through simplified strategies that yield remarkable results in their personal profession. She is offering just 2 offers, but we're going to get to that later. First, we're going to be talking about her Remarkably Simple podcast and what leadership really does entail. And we're all can be leaders in our own life, whether we are in business, working for someone, or just life itself is our business, right? We all need to know how to be leaders in our own life, whether you're leading people or just leading yourself. It's quite essential that we understand that leadership, isn't it, Moneke? Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sarah, so much for having me. And that is a perfect point. This is exactly what I believe, that I am here to help individuals show up in their self-leadership. And I think this is the best way that each of us can contribute to advancing our own dreams and doing our part to advance that of others if we happen to be participating in an organization. So I love that you shared that.
Well, I do believe a great leader creates other leaders. Because, I kind of always draw its analogy to our own instrument. We discover what our instrument is, we perfect it, we can play it beautifully solo. But once we join an orchestra, we need to be in sync and in harmony and in strength, our own personal strength with that orchestra. And every instrument is valid in that orchestra. But what is our instrument? And how do we play with others that we don't lose ourselves, but we contribute to the whole?
When I was early in my career as a teacher, I had the experience exactly as you described, a knack for engaging, motivating, and uplifting classrooms full of children. It was such a joy to do that in my early 20s. And what I found is that my first opportunity to learn with other educators, collaborate with them, and develop common ideas and strategies, I absolutely was bitten or smitten, as you say, with the idea of, this group dynamic that you describe about getting in sync with others. I observed individuals in my profession as an educator for many years who really struggled to share and exchange fully so that what we together created would be this harmonious product. But I can say that in my most successful experiences, both as a teacher and as a leader, and now as a business owner, it is in collaboration and cooperation with other people. And so if I am being fully transparent, this is my preference: to work together with others to define and then to achieve the success that we desire. It is so very fulfilling. And in my experience, has been the most successful way to, approach any challenge and achieve it. So this is so important.
Leadership isn't becoming someone else. Leadership is discovering what your aptitudes are, what your gift is, what you're extremely talented, but more importantly, passionate about. Because when you step into that, then you step into, that strength and that ability to face the challenge, the ability to discover your abilities. Because a lot of the time is, well, I don't know how to be a leader. And it's, well, there's leadership in every one of us. It's just, how do we turn our eyes in to recognize it? And the first thing you do is do not compare.
Mm-hmm. 100%. So, this is another reference that I have to the years that I spent in the classroom, but it parallels my experience as an administrator. And when I was leading the classroom, absolutely, children would want to compare what
Mm,
products they could create to whatever standard I might model, and absolutely compare themselves to their peers, on either side of their desk. So a part of the work that I did was to highlight the strengths and talents of every member of
mm,
our classroom, and to really emphasize how our classroom and community were made complete by the differences that each person brought, that we were stronger together as a group with these different skills, strategies, and propensities, I would say, that the individuals would bring. In my administrative experience, I found that the true strength of a team is based on that varied strength and
mm,
ability that each member brings. And something that you said really stood out to me, and it is absolutely true, confirmed in my years of experience, that a true leader cultivates the leadership of others.
mhm.
So, one really big mantra or sort of stomping speech that I advanced as the leader in my schools is that everyone is a leader. The
Yes.
children that we were teaching and leading were
Hmm.
themselves leading. And ultimately, their self leadership was our target. Um,
Yes.
and every teacher that I happened to be the supervisor and evaluator of was also a leader. And it
Hmm.
was my job, this was my view, as the administrator of that school, the evaluator, the supervisor of all of the staff, to make sure that everybody understood the power, the authority, the agency that they each held to improve and make our organization really that much more phenomenal. So I felt that my role was to pull out of them
Hmm.
the input, the insight, and the wisdom that they each held, and then doing some of this coordinating, facilitating, and
Yeah.
bringing to, right? Because sometimes we have different motives, and there is some, work that needs to be done to pull together what everyone suggests and contributes into a cohesive,
Hmm.
forward-moving plan. But this was such a delight. It's one of the reasons why I agree so much with what you say and find leadership so fulfilling, because
Hmm.
you are a leader focused on cultivating the leadership and the contribution that other people make. It is absolutely joyous work to do. It's not exhausting, not
No,
to
no,
get out, very
no.
fulfilling and very energizing.
When you step into that meaningful purpose, right, it is a joy. It is your calling, and
Mhm.
you are called to it with exuberance. You are the conductor of the orchestras you create. Right. And what does an orchestra do? Yes, you've got the sheet of music in front of it. There's an ultimate aim to sound like this, but the conductor goes, up a little more, down a little bit. How about we bring this up and that down and create a rhythm? Because life is a rhythm. It's about fluidity. And when that leadership can flow from them and they can learn to travel with other people's energy in
Mhm.
that fluidity, that's when we really create creators that
Mhm.
are the illuminators of our present and future.
Absolutely. This parallel that you make between the leadership that we do and the work that we do to playing music
Mhm.
is such a beautiful and I feel appropriate energy because, or appropriate picture, because the energy that exists in the work that we do, it
Mhm.
is creative.
Yes,
We make it. And
yes.
every member of an organization, of a team, has an influence and an impact. And this is another part of the idea that I think is so important in our work, whether we are leading an organization or, in my experience, in the work of entrepreneurship. This
Mhm.
energy and this creative force that we have, it's very powerful. The
Mhm.
ability that each individual has to impact the outcome strictly by the way they show up. What you
Yes,
bring and what you offer
yes.
owns some large percentage of whatever the outcome is. And this is so uplifting to me because sometimes we are finding people who are working in somewhat challenging contexts, sometimes even we hear them called toxic environments.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I personally have experienced and deeply enjoy is this ability that I and each other individual holds to immediately make a significant impact in what's going on, strictly by choosing what
Mm-hmm.
energy they will bring, what
Yes.
output, what attitude, what energy they will share with this experience. It automatically makes some significant increase. I guess it depends on, the strength of other energies.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps it depends on the number of people on a team. It might even depend on the amount of responsibility that an individual holds. But this is so encouraging to me because very often our focus is turned toward what isn't positive, what's not
Mm-hmm.
working, and quite a lot of energy and focus can be directed toward what we can not control. But
Yes.
subtle shift
Mm-hmm.
to me opens up quite a lot of responsibility. And the other thing that I would, not responsibility, I think the word that I meant to use is possibility.
Yeah.
It opens quite a lot of possibility. And it also can be contagious. When an
Yeah.
individual in an
Yeah.
organization makes this conscious choice to shift their focus and their attitude, there is usually someone else who is perhaps compelled, interested, curious about this shift in the energy, and it starts to transfer over time. So
Mm.
um, I think this idea is so compelling.
Yeah.
And when you started talking about this, the work that the conductor does,
Mm-hmm.
this is what makes this come to mind because I feel and I think each of us have been in the experience where we can see a little something happening over here, and
Mm-hmm.
then this instrument comes in and
Yeah.
starts to play, and the music just gets to be that much more
Yeah.
beautiful
Oh,
and
yes.
you know electric of an
Mm-hmm. Heartfelt, right? That's what we want it to be. And, I think that there's always problems. Let's look at the world, right?
yeah.
It's in Shootsville right now. If we join the bandwagon of misery, how are we ever going to be productive, right? But it's rather, I've got a 3-year-old grandson and a 15-month-old grandson. And a good reminder as a grandma is how to redirect that frustrative energy is silly billies, right? Nana starts pulling faces, starts giggling at nothing, starts doing something like that. Next thing you know, they're joining me and they've forgotten, right? So why can't we step into sometimes lightening it up?
Hmm.
As I say, even the village idiot has a role to play because
Yeah.
sometimes we just need something that is frivolously fun. Let's not get serious. Let's shake it out, shake it off. And maybe even be celebratory.
Hmm.
Oh, whose birthday is it? Um, have a clown come in with a cake, something ridiculous. But it shifts people's energy. It shifts the feeding of the empty well, negativity, and starts filling the positive well with possibilities, and
Right.
and invites other people to change their attitude. But you always need somebody that's going to step up and prepare to be a little silly in order to kind of shift that whole vibe.
Yeah, I think this is another key point about the value of leadership. And one of the things that you have to do for to be fully transparent, my
Mm-hmm.
personality is not a very outspoken one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm somewhat introverted in my
Yeah.
private. I'm very talkative,
Uh-huh.
but introverted. The stage is not something that I desire. But what I found in my leadership, it started in the classroom, that very often I was able to completely change
Mm-hmm.
the energy of my classroom and set the tone for upbeat, engaged, positive, curious, supportive community just by bringing that energy
Yeah.
and to the point, being willing to sing, to dance,
Yes.
to laugh, to, you know, um, as you said, be silly.
Mm,
In cases with the kids, it's like, let's do this work. And I know it's hard, but when
mm.
we're done, extra recess, right? Like just getting excited about the silly things
Yes.
completely changes the energy. In leading adults,
Mm-hmm.
I would be called a little bit hokey, but I think
Brings out the inner child, right?
finding opportunities
Yeah.
for celebration is a
Yeah.
great way
Yeah.
to change the energy of challenging work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, I am no longer working in schools. I support individuals who work in schools.
Yeah.
But in my experience with one recent client who was working with, unfortunately, an entire classroom full of children who are performing at one of the, the lowest levels on that grade level that she was assigned, those children, their energy was low. They felt like, this is hard and we're never going to make the target and our skills are not adequate and, poor us. And one of the things that she and I discussed and that she ultimately decided to do was to infuse fun. And
Yes.
as soon as she found ways to do that, the students' attitudes and their spirits were so uplifted that they started to make more progress.
Right.
And I said, happy kids learn better. The
Yeah.
same is true for adults. Happy
Yes.
adults perform better. So finding ways to infuse upbeat positivity and fun, unlike what some people call toxic positivity, I don't
Hmm.
think that's it at all. I think that it's a matter of just accepting that if we stare at all of the hard things and call them hard and dwell on how hard they are, it doesn't make it any easier to do. Actually, adds weight to the difficulty in the task. But
Yes.
fun has a beautiful way of uplifting and lightening everyone. And that
Right.
is without everyone's agreement, right?
Right.
It's
Right.
not necessary that everybody agrees. Some people won't necessarily feel engaged or energized by the invitation to uplift their energy. But again, just as one person can do that, any number of people who sign on help make the situation better for everybody and make improvements overall. So, this is one of my favorite things about
Hmm.
being a leader, that you get to sort of keep temperature, read what's going on with everybody else, and be infusing bits of fun and energy in a way that can really improve productivity and outcomes.
Even sometimes silence. My mum was a drama teacher, and she was given a very, very difficult class, and like they didn't want to be there. They were more concerned about their nail polish and the boyfriend and the this and that. And she came to class one day, and she just turned her back to them and read a book. And they were busy talking. Then they said, "Hey, aren't you meant to be teaching us?" "Pardon?" she goes. "Uh, you're meant to be teaching us. What are you doing reading?" "I will teach you when you show me the respect of listening to what I have to say." And she turned her back on them again. And eventually she put a play together where each one of them kind of contributed a role. And it was, "Oh, me broke not," because this is in England, and kind of really funny. But at the same time, they were so engaged with it because it was a reflection of their life that they were talking about. And then they couldn't wait to come to class to what they were going to do next.
Mhm.
But my kids always said they got scared when I, as a mother, got quiet,
Mhm.
right? Because then it was, oh, she's reached her limit. She's got quiet. We know that we've pushed too many buttons. And I think sometimes in a boardroom or when you've got a whole load of people puffing and arguing, it's, either get up and walk out of the room or you just pick something up and read or go into the corner. That silence, they'll suddenly be aware you're not conducting the meeting. What meeting is there to conduct? Right? So it's like some that awareness that we need to bring it down. And I think self-control and self-awareness as a child is something you learn, but as an adult, many people forget. Right. And it gets so caught up in the whirlwind and the hysteria and the I'm right and you're wrong. And we can't be productive that way. So
Yeah.
someone has to kind of just turn the channel. I'll come back in when you're all calmed down and we're willing to talk.
Right. And I mean, to your point, self-control and self-awareness on the part of everybody involved. The leader needs to be reflective. The participants need to be reflective. And I
Hmm.
think if the leader absolutely can take on the role of modeling and guiding that practice, and as you suggested, by just stopping and being quiet,
Hmm.
not contributing to the
No.
chaos, contributing to the noise, but observing it, would prompt other members to do the same.
Yes.
Another thing that I really enjoyed and saw so much value in is both being a leader and working with leaders who are willing to ask tough questions,
Hmm.
allow space for a word that I'll borrow from an author that I respect, allow space for the team and the individuals to grapple with the
Yeah.
idea,
Yeah.
right? Because it can be very easy to lean on low-hanging fruit, right?
Yeah.
That's a pretty
Yeah.
common concept. Let's grab these things that are really easy so we can feel like we're making progress.
Hmm.
Um, but to have high aspiration and desire that is tied to your belief in what your team
Mm.
is capable of means really honoring them with the tough questions and making space for investigating those questions,
Yes.
problem solving to find them, perhaps making mistakes or not initially hitting targets
Hmm.
um, in trying to achieve those. I think this is another really important part that flows out of that self-awareness, self-control, and willing this comfort with silence, but
Hmm.
also comfort with it might take time to figure this question out. So let's
Exactly.
get straight to it, right?
Yeah.
I think that's important as well.
I'm a true colors coach, the four key personality traits,
I
right?
love it.
And, for me, it's even in my show postings, I want to address all of those points there. And I think, when you're in a boardroom, you've got an idea and you want to run with it. Why doesn't anybody else see it? Because you're seeing it from your strength of your perspective. Their
Mhm,
strength is over here. Can you translate it in a way that they can understand? Right. And as you say, grapple with it. If we expect everybody to understand, quote, quote, our language,
mhm,
and they don't see it because they're more analytical or they're more foundational or the just more something else. And it's like you're not speaking to them. You're
mhm.
speaking on behalf of you, which, yes, please do, but also use language that will incorporate the other personality traits in there so they can actually grapple with what you're saying and get infused about it.
This is one of the experiences that I am so grateful for the 14 years that I spent working in classrooms at a
Hmm.
variety of different age levels, in addition to spending time in community groups with youth. Mastering the skill of differentiation,
Yes.
observation of individuals' particular styles and preferences, served really well to support me as a leader.
Hmm.
And it's also very important now as a business owner and a coach,
Yes.
because I am not able to just rubber stamp
Hmm.
one method on each client.
Yeah. One
Not
size fits
all,
all.
right. Not all businesses are the same. Not
No.
all individuals are the same.
Mhm.
And if our goal is to make progress with each person that we support in each context, however it is that we do our work, then it's very important for us to come to that knowing that there are going to need to be certain adaptations or, customizations that are put in place to allow for the individual to thrive.
Mhm.
Each person and each company will have its own unique characteristics that really need to be respected and honored if that entity is going to flourish.
Yeah.
So this is one of the things that I really am so grateful that I had a start in education, because
Yes.
if we're going to be successful leading a classroom full of motley children, which I all of the years experience, different demographics, different socioeconomic
Hmm.
backgrounds, but all of them unique. Never once did I have a classroom where, the majority of the children had the same abilities and interests.
Hmm.
This really forced pretty fast a mastery in engaging to understand what's really going to best serve the person who's sitting, one-on-one
Yeah.
with me right now, or this group that I'm working with to help them
Mm.
thrive. So this is one of the things that I'm just so grateful that I get to bring to my work now. I
Hmm.
think that it is something that helps me stand out, to be frank, in terms of the service that I'm able to provide my current clients, as I
Yeah.
am primarily working with adults.
So many people at a particular age in life redirect
Yeah.
or, get the cosmic nudge, nudge, wink, wink, or cosmic 2x4 that
Uh-huh.
redirects them, right?
Right.
And they kind of look at, well, all those years was a waste. Nothing is a waste. All
Mm-mm.
your experience that you have had, you now bring to your passion and conviction of what you want to do now,
Yes.
right? And it's just transferable skills. but you're now using it in a way that there's maybe more conviction or there's more understanding of the piece of music, as my analogy goes, more understanding of the people who are playing in it. You can't just say to everybody, tap, 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 all collaborate, you're all going to do this. No, collaboration, inspiration begets invitation. That's what collaboration is. You're
Mhm.
inviting people because they're inspired to be a part of something, but then recognizing their unique gift of what they're bringing to the table. And
Mhm.
not everybody wants to be that soloist. The triangle is just as important. It's knowing where it belongs and that
Mhm.
its voice is just as important because it may only say one note, but that one note could be so important. And I
Yes.
think is, again, two words I don't like to see when it comes to humanity: compare and compete. Do not compete with each other. Do not compare. You are beautifully unique. You are valued. You are a gift. Step up and be.
Yes. And to be in the type of environment and as a leader to create the type of environment
Mm.
where the soprano,
Mhm.
oh, the tenor, and any other subtleties, those are the three that I know. If there's anything more expert than that, I
The
spent many
baritone.
singing in the choir. Thank you. I did know there would always be just a few of them in the back, right? So thinking about this is what creates beautiful harmony.
Mhm.
And it's the reason why anytime we hear a harmony, we stop.
Yes.
At least this is the experience that I have.
Uh-huh.
So compelled by music, especially
Yes.
singing, but I recognize the same thing with beautiful
Mm.
instruments.
Mm-hmm.
This synchronicity that we have,
Mm-hmm.
when the difference is highlighted in a beautiful way, it complements the other components.
Yes. Yes.
And I do think that this is the mastery of leadership,
Yep.
to be able to cull out of each voice, each instrument, each participant in that team, this beautiful contribution that contributes to the whole, the expression, whatever the vision or the goal is for the organization. This is, maestro
Yeah.
is the perfect way to describe that work. Um, and it's such a joy to have those moments where it all
Mm.
comes together, because
Yes.
there are many days in practice.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Don't
I
quite
can't hear that one more time.
right, right. And it can be so challenging.
Mm-hmm.
But I think once you have experienced those moments of what's possible, you always reach for that. You
Yes.
always reach for the newest version or iteration of that what's possible again and again. And it is, to your point, that you have multiple transitions and
Mm.
experiences where you are making shifts and challenges. And I'm thinking about moving from the classroom and then into school leadership and working through multiple levels, not necessarily having a desire to reach the top and then moving on to take
Mm.
that collection of tools. I see it like
Yes.
in a tool belt that equip you to be able to do different but still more beautiful things than you have
Yes.
with other.
Advance on, expand on,
Yeah.
because you do reach a certain limit is that I've got no more to give in this area. But everything I've given this area now needs to expand on. More musicians need to come in. We need the choir in there. We need the dancers in there. We need to complete the performance. And sometimes, you have to move on because the story is not fully told and there's more
Right.
to tell. And you have to listen to that story and where do you want me to go and be willing to take the journey.
I love that question when you ask, where do you want me to
Mm,
go? I think that there
mhm.
are times where we experience that, at least this has been the case with me. When I was very young, I used to say, I go where the wind blows.
Yes, it's me.
Or I've heard that it was said of me that I was a climber, and that is
Mm,
the opposite of the truth.
mhm.
I actually have never had a desire to move, except that I just felt what I would describe as an urge or a
You
compelling
were moved.
feeling that it was time to
Yeah,
change. And to
yes.
be frank, in all of those instances, I
Hmm.
didn't know where the change
No.
was. I
Uh-huh.
didn't know until it appeared. And
Hmm.
I know that it was the way to go was because when I tried, it was the one that worked, right?
Yes,
Like we
yes.
might have tried a couple of different things, and the one that worked was the one.
Mm,
But when you spoke about competition
mm,
and comparing, those are two very important components that I think, to your point about this topic of leadership, that
yeah.
are also really important. Whether it is leading yourself
Hmm.
or leading to support the best in others, comparison is not valuable, right?
Hmm.
Our children don't benefit being compared to each other, and we don't benefit
Yeah.
being compared to others. Um, I think comparison is not the same thing as pointing out good models, right?
Yes,
We
yes.
can all benefit from seeing other individuals who are successful mentor by
Hmm.
demonstrating skills
Hmm.
and breaking down steps in a process,
Hmm.
but creating space that allows us
Hmm.
to implement those strategies and skills as ourselves,
Yes.
not as, the copy
Mm.
of somebody else's best expression. The other thing that I have a very passionate perspective about is this idea of competition.
Hmm.
There is obvious competition is real. It
Hmm.
does exist in the world, and it is valued in many environments. In my own experience and observation, though, cooperation and collaboration, where possible, yield far greater results
Yes. Yes.
for all involved. Uh,
Hmm.
I think it is very challenging at times to have individuals work together to pursue a win-win. I think quite a lot of trust and emphasis on relationship needs to be provided so that individuals feel safe and not threatened to contribute to this collective win.
Yeah.
Um, in business, I think this is a challenging concept, but I was just talking with another business owner who supports other businesses, and her goal, I loved it when she said this, her goal is to help create the kind of environment where everyone gets more of what they need. And I love that there's
Mm.
an individual who's thinking about doing that with their
Yeah.
business. There's more
Yeah.
than enough clients for
Yes.
everybody, that we don't need
Yes.
to compete
No.
for clients, that we can learn and share the strategies that we implement.
Mm.
I share the beautiful strategies that I use with you, and you do the same with me.
Hmm.
We're both elevated and better able to help meet the needs of the people that we're so passionate about. So I'm so happy that you mentioned that topic of competition and collaboration, because I think, to be frank, when people are focused on competition, quite often they thwart their own progress.
Yeah.
They hold themselves back. They don't
Mm.
get to the place that they're interested in as easily or as quickly, because it's very difficult to grow with a closed fist or to
Yeah.
expand when you're contracting. So if you're keeping everything to
Yeah.
yourself, you're not open to receive the things that you need that are going to help you move just that much further.
And
So
what
I'm not
about rejection?
saying,
You
oh my goodness,
know, you competed and you didn't, quote, win, and now you feel rejected and you feel a failure. Why are you even setting yourself up for that? Where as a collaborator,
yeah.
your contribution exceeds and expands way beyond your own personal limitations. And what is one of the biggest problems with people is never feeling enough, never feeling valued, never feeling seen or heard. Children have this, but adults have it in abundance. And it's because I think this force to compare and compete, which then they feel a failure when they haven't come first. And
Mhm.
it's if we take that compete out and as you said, the big C of collaborate,
Yeah.
and in that collaboration, everybody's C contribution,
Mhm.
right? Cohesively allows us all to be creative and grow. There is so much more. It's a feast rather than just a slap a steak.
I was going to say, I think this is where the fulfillment and
Mm,
this sense of purpose that we often are looking for comes from,
yeah.
because having had the experience to work in a truly collaborative setting. I'm going to be honest and say there was competition present. I'm
Mm,
just grateful that in this experience, there was more collaboration than competition,
mm.
and ultimately the collaboration won.
Yes.
Collaboration makes me think about this phrase that people say, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you
Mm.
want to go far, go
Yes.
together. Like
Yeah.
to on your own
Hmm.
with your speedy secret sauce, you may be able to get to a point. But with the collaboration, the contribution, the cooperation of others, you will be
Hmm.
go so much further. So I was going to say earlier, I'm not suggesting that everybody post their secret recipe on the internet. A great point that I heard recently was that pretty much everything individuals can search and find on the internet now anyway.
Hmm.
You know, what unique support, service, care, attention, um, personalization do you provide?
Hmm.
How do you invest in those relationships with those customers or those members of
Hmm.
staff if you happen to be leading an organization that really create the kind of relationship that there isn't any competition? When I think
Exactly.
about my favorite places on this planet, I'm not here to represent any particular brands
Hmm.
or to poo-poo on anybody else's favorites, but there is one grocery store where I live. I love the service there.
Yes.
The opportunity to choose
Hmm.
between that organization and any other that I can think of, hands down, it's this one. Now,
Right.
if I have to drive an hour across town in a tough spot, I might not do it.
Right.
More than 9 times out of 10, I'm going to that place because I enjoy the experience. And there's not only a grocery store.
CS, customer service,
Yes,
right? It's something
exactly.
we're so lacking these days in anywhere where we go. We're just a number,
To
right?
just truly serve. We
Yes.
we talk about business, and sometimes sales gets a very negative
Mm,
rap or
mm,
connotation. But I think not when you have experienced sales as a service.
hmm.
When you
Hmm.
have been served in the sales process and your needs have been fully
Hmm.
understood and addressed, you don't feel like you're not having a salesy experience,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's funny because when I am in those contexts, it's like I know sometimes you have to sell, you don't have to sell me. There's a famous movie line like you had me at hello. It's
Yes.
like I
Yeah.
already know that you are going to provide the support and give in ways that I'm not even thinking that I need or want or am not even
Exactly.
aware that they're a problem. And you're going overboard to make sure
Yeah.
that I have what I need to be successful. It's like I wouldn't think about doing this business anywhere else.
Right.
And I think ultimately that's the goal of your organization
Mm,
and your leadership. Whether it is to yourself because there is an idea, right? Like we could just
mm,
camp for an hour on the idea of serving yourself when you lead yourself and the
mm.
idea of selling yourself on the
Yes.
thing that what are you buying into? Um,
Yeah.
we could just go down that path, but
Mm,
I love how applicable this is on the individual,
hmm.
team, and the organization level. Um, Such powerful concepts that are sometimes they can be a challenge to instill, but so rewarding the work when you do this. And sustainable too,
That's the
right?
point. You know, when
Yeah,
it comes from the heart and it really has good intent. You know, I always say people have to buy you before they buy from you. And
right.
people want to have a relationship, whether it's just at the cashier as you're buying your groceries, or whether you're doing a bigger purchase, or discovering some service that has been there. You want, again, back to, are you seen, heard, and felt?
Mhm.
Right? And if you feel that that person, the undivided attention is on you, they're here to serve you. We are all here to serve one another. Can we do it with grace? Can we
Mhm.
do it without rabbits or squirrels or whatever? And be attentive on that person and not look at it like, did I get a sale out of them? How much did I make out of them? But build the relationship, because that person may not buy from you, but my God, they're sure going to recommend you because they had a wonderful experience.
Exactly. And I think it's funny that you say this about not expecting a sale out of
Mm,
every interaction.
mhm,
As you mentioned in the intro, I've recently started a podcast and I
mhm,
have a very intentional strategy for that. I intend from every conversation to number one, establish relationship.
Yes.
Have a genuine format to get to
Mm,
know and understand the person who is my guest. That person may become a client,
mm-hmm.
could also be a collaborator.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a person who co-creates something in the future with me or become a trusted member of my community. And I think all of those things are really important for a business or an organization to thrive. So in this way, my time is never wasted,
Exactly.
never wasted.
It's sometimes it's just seeding and take a little watering and nurturing, and sometimes the soil is ripe and it's going to be a quick growth. And the thing is, we've become far too much of instant gratification, instant this and instant that. And one of the biggest problems, which I talk about all the time with this instant attitude, is that we've forgotten the abundance and the enrichment of the small things,
Mhm,
of time well spent, of being present, of
mhm,
being able to look at someone's eyes, whether it's virtual or whether it's in person, but giving of one's time. And it's like I used to be, the tortoise and the hare. At one point in my life, I was the hare. I had an idea, wanted to rush for it. Let's go and do it. Rah, rah, rah. I've become the tortoise. And as I've become the tortoise, I'm enjoying the people I'm meeting along the way. I'm enjoying the scenery. I'm taking my time, and it's like, I don't need to chase after that. This feels more right. This feels better. And then the people along the way validate that because the feeling, the vibration, and the synchronicity is there. And
mhm,
I think it's hard to tell youth to slow down because that's what youth is all about, foot to the pedal. But at the same time, if we could also teach them the presence,
mhm,
of being present, of slowing down, of listening to their inner voice, listening to their instincts, building relationships instead of likes, then they would actually find they're going to get so much more fortification in their life in every aspect of it. So there's a lot of business people, and I'm sure you see them, and I'm sure you've worked with them. It's they approach me with the sale, and
mhm.
have you approached me with hello? I'm doing this. Are you interested? Um, May we have a talk instead of pitch, pitch, pitch?
Yeah.
And people have been pitched to death and they don't want to be pitched anymore. Don't look at me as a dollar sign. How about you find out if I even need or want your product?
Yeah, I think the emphasis on relationship is not that it's appropriate. It
Mm,
is right. Like, um, to your point, with the advance of technology, it makes it very speedy,
yeah.
very easy to be very intimate with people very quickly. And as you said, you still need grace, and I would say
Mm,
a bit of wisdom, because it
mm,
rush to a sale,
yeah.
maybe make one.
Hmm.
But the strength and longevity, the sustainability of the energy that you invest, it might be worth it to, as you have said, invest in a relationship and establishing a genuine rapport with potential clients and customers.
Hmm.
Because when they have that connection to you,
Yes.
they will rest with you.
Yeah.
They will actually develop confidence and
Mm,
trust in you. So to your point, um, you know, sometimes when you're young, I remember when I was young, I had energy,
hmm.
comparable energy, especially prior to having children. I could work for days on end without, seeming to
Hmm.
need rest. Um, and that wasn't sustainable.
No.
I think I was smart enough to realize that I was not invincible and that I would not live forever. But you couldn't have told me otherwise. My actions said that I thought I was invincible and that I
Right.
would.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And as it goes with all of us, as you
Mm.
kind of described being the hare and then somebody
Mhm.
becoming the tortoise, you tend to notice that it's really useful to identify priorities and
Mhm.
focus so that you are not, so easily swayed. Because now that I'm in my 40s, I have always wanted to make a difference. I have
Hmm.
always wanted to make an impact. I'm a little less willing now than I used to be to spend my time and energy on things that don't
Yes.
contribute to what is really important to me. And
Amen. I'm glad you found it in your 40s.
I was going to say it's pretty common that people say they get to around 40. I've heard some people say at 50, but it's usually after the 30s that you start to look around and think,
Mm.
if I have a finite amount of energy
Hmm.
and I do have an ability to compress time and to be
Mm.
very wise and to, we talk about multitasking. I will find a word to describe what it is that we do when we figure out really smart ways to accomplish more than
Yes.
one time.
Yes.
Whatever
Productive.
word is, whatever word that is, right? We start to, I think this is the wisdom. And I love it
Mm.
when I happen to spend just a few minutes on social and I see an image of a new person whacking with fever, with
Yes.
fervor at a wall and chipping away slowly.
Yeah.
And, an individual who happens to have a little more experience come and leverage or, knock free one piece of that wall that maybe they've learned with time will
Mm.
cause all of it to go ahead and crumble
Exactly.
without expending so much energy. And I think this is, we attribute it to developing gray hairs, which I'm starting to have a few, but I think the wisdom that comes with experience, because
Yeah.
I think I was raised well. I think I was told really meaningful lessons, but you know, as I reflect on my younger years in adulthood, some of those lessons that I knew the answers to mean far more now that I
Yeah.
have worked sort of lived into those messages, right?
Mm.
Like to recite.
More
uh,
satisfying, right?
yes,
Yes.
it's like sometimes
Yes.
but you don't know until you know. I don't know
Yeah,
any other way
I
to
call
say that.
that the knowingness. It's when the core of you, your soul, heart, spirit, and being knows. And you don't need to verify, validate, justify, or anything. You just know. And you trust it because you know it to be the truth. It's your compass, right?
And to
And you
your
learn to listen to it.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I think this it ties into this idea of leadership, whether it is of yourself or
Mm.
others.
Hmm.
There is absolutely a settling in
Yeah,
that happens, um, and more of a security, I feel, that you
hmm,
develop with experience. I don't know that I would say that it's with time, but with experience, there's
yeah.
just um,
Yeah, because
settle.
you've got some people that have had a great deal of experience at a very young age, right? And
Mhm.
it is experience, and but age just allows us to reflect more,
Yeah.
right? To look back and reflect more. And, as you said, don't give our energy away. If I'm going to give my energy, I'm going to give it to something that's meaningful, that's purposeful, that I really can put my heart and soul behind because I truly get a great deal of passion out of the results that it's going to give. And then you don't waste your energy chasing, the rabbit here and there and everywhere. And yeah, I've got some colleagues and they've got several things going on at once
Mhm.
and the franticness comes across
Right.
instead of just focusing. Now you can have this, I'm going to be doing X, Y, and Z, but I'm going to focus on this one right now this project's over, I'm going to focus on this one. But juggling all those balls and expecting everyone else to do the same,
Mhm.
right, isn't the kind of leadership we want, because now we're making people feel less than because they're not catching all the balls that you're catching because you're not wired that way. And then you go, well, oh, throw it up in the air. I can't cope with this and lose interest.
That is exactly what happens. I think, not to bring up the dreaded pandemic, but
Mm,
um, I've had conversations with friends or, former coworkers when I was in the corporate environment. And I think that it was very interesting being in a leadership role to observe individuals have a taste,
mm,
this lack of frenzy.
yes,
And some
yes.
people really struggled to
Mm,
go back to sign on for another round of juggling or
mm.
lion taming or whatever you call it, chasing fires, all of these different images that are often used in corporate and business-like settings. But to your point, I think that true leadership is willing to own
Hmm.
priorities need to be identified.
Yes.
And some things may not be attended to,
Right.
that, there are going to have to be principles and priorities that you
Hmm.
operate by. And this, it is, I think, very wise. It is an indication of strength. And the
Hmm.
word that we used, some friends and I recently, when we were in a mastermind together talking about, the work that we're doing, is sage, right?
Yes.
That
Yes.
you've really arrived, so to speak, although there isn't a
Mm.
destination that we're coming to. You really have
You've
arrived.
reached a point.
Yeah, yeah. When you are owning that, when you
Yeah.
can identify that, when you can let some of the many other things go. Um, I think that this is also the work of the leader to give permission, right? Like sometimes I have learned in my experience that individuals who work with you for you, they want to be granted permission
Hmm.
and will fight for it, right? Like they don't want to be
Yeah.
they want you to be the one who did that. To establish those priorities and say, these things we're going to attend to, but they are not what's most important.
Right.
Um, our most important priority is this. And at the end of the day, when we have accomplished this, we have done what we came to do.
And
And
it
that's
doesn't
not
mean
to
that
say
an
that
idea is bad.
yeah.
Right. I've got a new collaboration book coming up, and I'm working with a publisher. So I'm going to be podcasting and summiting, and she's going to be helping the authors with this, anthology book on with coaches and mentors and etc. And, we were all going to get gung ho about it end of June, July. And I got sick. And then I just realized, look, Sarah, you've already been in 4 books this year. You've moved. You're in a new city. All of a sudden, you've got grandchildren demanding you. You've got a whole shed that you need to unpack and sort out where it's going. There's nothing wrong with the book idea. It's just understanding timing and that this isn't the right time for me. And if it's not the right time for me, then I'm not going to be able to give it my all.
Mhm.
And sometimes recognize that. And a lot of people, I think, in leadership or in business, well, people are going to think I'm a failure if I put it off or that I can't cope with it. No, we've just got to look at when is it a good time, when isn't it? Because if you can't really give it your full attention, then you're not going to succeed at it. And it's recognizing good idea, or maybe the idea needs to change, the timing isn't right, and that's okay.
Absolutely. I think, owning responsibility for that, whether or not other people think,
Yes,
whatever other
exactly.
people think, I love to say, we don't need to be in their head thinking for them.
No, thank you. No, thank you. Got enough thoughts of my own.
Our thinking. So, to your point, being very clear about how and when you can
Yeah.
give your full commitment to something
Hmm.
and really honoring that idea. To be frank, I don't think
Yeah.
the idea deserves to be done in a shoddy way,
No,
right?
no.
I think that we definitely have to, if we're not in a place where we can put things down, so to speak, or arrange to take the kind of action that is going to represent us and the way that we intend to show up in our work, well, then that's a tough decision. But I agree that that's another one of those marks of leadership. You've
Mm.
got to be able to assess whether it is now. And some would argue that the time is always now.
Hmm.
And I agree that the time is always now. It now is always a time for something.
Yes.
It's
But what's
always,
the something?
let's be clear about what that is.
Yeah.
Um, and I think congrats on being featured in 3 other books already this year.
Yes, I wrote my own memoir and our Forgotten Children series, which is all about the raising of our children and how we need to change the system, and 2 other books. And that was all, by the 1st of May. And so it was all kind of pretty crazy. And then I moved the 1st of May. And sometimes you've just got to understand, yes, You love doing what you're doing. You love serving other people. But hang on, empty tank. I'm serving, serving, serving. And how come I'm gasping for breath? And that it's okay. It's okay to say I'm not okay. At this time, I'm pausing.
That's something in leadership that I had to learn. And prior
Mm,
to being in a leadership role, assigned responsibility for other people,
mhm.
I I can identify now that I never in my entire life, not personally or professionally, had or took the opportunity to say, I'm not okay.
Yeah.
In my leadership development, what I now understand is that I own
Mhm.
responsibility for my life. And I
Yes.
am not only a professional, I am a spiritual being, I am
Mhm,
a
mhm,
being.
mhm,
I desire,
mhm,
deserve, and
mhm,
enjoy recreation. I have a family that matters deeply,
mhm.
and I choose to make sure that all of these things are having regular investment contribution, development.
Yeah.
And to your point, maybe if you think about what goals you had for the year, you wanted to be featured in one book.
Yeah. Yes.
How many you planned?
No,
I
it's just the universe having its joke on me, right?
you
You
see
know,
what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I think you've checked extra boxes in the professional category, but if your health
Mm,
or your wealth or your
yeah.
overall well-being is
Yeah.
not
You're overwhelmed.
thriving,
Yeah.
um, one leader that mentor that I deeply respect, points out that if you don't attend to all of the core pillars
Yes.
of your
Yes.
life and well-being, the ones that you let fall will ultimately take down the one that you're
Hmm.
devoting all of your time and energy to.
Yes.
So it is always time.
Yeah.
It's time right now to focus on something. But I don't know that I would agree that that time should be entirely devoted to
Right.
one of those areas. That is to steal from, I don't know who coined this phrase, it is a fool's game.
Hmm.
And many of us have played it. And,
Oh,
and we're
yeah.
not going to
Been there, done that.
part of the easy way. I'm not really sure. It depends on whose perspective you're speaking from. But I think we absolutely must take care of our whole selves. That is,
Yes.
you
How
know,
can we give our all if we're not our all?
I love it.
Right?
I haven't heard it said that way, and that is so powerful. How can you
Hmm.
give your all when you're not your all?
Hmm.
You can pretend to give your all.
Yes. Oh,
Not.
I've been there and done that until I'm depleted, and it's one of my tendencies. And this is why, it gave me COVID and bronchitis back to back. It's like I'm going to flatten you whether you like it or not because you're not listening. And this is the thing we've got to listen and we've got to pay attention. We've also got to do something else as a leader, ask for help.
Absolutely. And you said you called it earlier a knock on the head, right?
Mm,
Like by whatever way you learn to
hmm.
listen. Um,
Hmm.
this thing about leadership, or what I ultimately believe everyone, whether you are in a leadership position or not, it is self-leadership.
Yes.
Ultimately, you need to be living by. And that makes you a better employee. It makes you a
Mm,
better assistant. It makes you a better leader. This self-leadership is first and most important. And listening to the voices that suggest that you ask for help, that you fill
mm,
yourself, you do all of this. I think again, being very dependent as a child, very
hmm.
compliant, having many teachers who gave directions and a grandma who did a
Hmm.
beautiful job taking care of me. I started into adulthood thinking that I needed approval,
Hmm.
permission, many things. One of the things that I have learned as I have matured and become the leader that I am is to understand that ultimately it is my power, my choice,
Yes.
my
Yes.
decision. Whether I ask for help, consent to help, all of that is mine.
Mm,
No one else has the authority to do this for me.
yeah.
So to your point, the decision to be my all before I give my all,
Hmm.
I'm the one who ultimately decides that that is going to be my position. Nobody else.
Exactly.
But I think when we step into and fully recognize the leadership that the position that we hold, that our life is like a little kingdom. And
Mm-hmm.
a teacher recently said this in another one of those beautiful masterminds I'm so grateful that I get to participate in, that it's like this body that we have is our kingdom. And
Mm-hmm.
all the parts of it are the servants, right?
Yes.
Like I want to make sure as a benevolent and strong, dependable ruler, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak, I want to make sure that every part of me, my mind, my physical health, that it is all well resourced to
Mm-hmm.
do the service the job that it is designed to do.
Yes.
Kingdom. Um, this self-leadership concept cannot be understated. And
Yeah.
to your point, I think, um, I would love to beat the dead horse. I would love to beat the dead horse because this, toward the end of my 24 years in service to school, is probably one of the biggest takeaways.
Mm-hmm.
That very often we're concerned about everything and everyone from
Mm-hmm.
best, most heartfelt and genuine place. And some of us are blessed to learn before too late that we need to lead ourselves well and first before we lead others. Um,
We're the example. Are we
yeah.
a good example or a bad example? We are energy. Is our energy invitational or is it draining? How can we give our beautiful energy and meaningful purpose if our battery is perpetually running flat? And what kind of energy are we giving? Are we giving hysterical energy? Are we giving consistent flowing energy that people can ride that energy and not feel they're going to get fried? So, the more we invest in ourselves, the more we love on ourselves, the
Mhm.
more I look at the heart as the love generator.
Mhm.
The more love that you have for self and for life and your meaningful purpose, the more it generates. I look at
Yes.
the soul as the compass, it's the divine compass. The spirit as our action, and the mind will know what it needs to know in clarity when it needs to know it.
Yeah. So beautiful. Um, and speaking of silence, like I just wanted to sit for a moment with that idea. And here I'm feeling like this is a podcast. We're supposed to just keep yammering on and on. But that is so, so compelling, true, and important to realize in our leadership. I'm so grateful. I spend so much time in gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is another important leadership characteristic, but to be frank, just grateful for the opportunities that I have had to learn what I think are typically called hard lessons.
Yes.
But ultimately, I'm still here, right? Having opportunity.
Because of those hard lessons,
Yes, have
because you chose to learn from them.
that's what I have learned.
Yeah.
Live it
Yeah.
and share it and hopefully enable and empower others to develop the experience and practices and skills that will help them live more of their leadership role in this well-resourced is the way that I like to describe it position.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I'll definitely go back and do the replay so that I can listen to that relationship that you just gave about the spirit,
Mm.
the heart. You started with the heart. Um, this generative energy.
Yes.
Very
Yes.
often people will ask the leader, I don't understand how you do this, or where do you
Hmm.
get energy? And to your point, it absolutely comes from the heart.
Yeah.
When you are doing the work that you love and loving yourself,
Hmm.
while you do it, it's almost impossible to run out of the
No.
energy.
And I mean, I look at gratitude waking up. Like this morning, I stayed at my daughter's last night because her husband was away on business. And so I was in the baby's room. So, 5 o'clock in the morning, he wants a bottle, then he wants to play. And, it's like I'm not an early morning person. But then I look at this little thing that's giggling at me. And it's like the gratitude to have these moments because you never know how long you're going to have them for. They're
Yeah.
so precious. Who cares if you're tired? They're so precious. And,
Absolutely.
just to be grateful every morning you've opened your eyes and you've got a new day ahead of you. But I think, whatever God, universe, spirit, source, energy, whatever is your compass, that compass is that allowing, surrendering, listening, right? And then giving it to the heart and the truth that then generates, and then allowing the spirit to get into action, and not thinking it, but feeling the wisdom, because then it's clarity on what to do with it. And if we live only from chin up, we're living in expectation. We're living in somebody else's dictation. And we're not living in our heart and our soul and our spirit and our meaningful purpose, which is our driving force, which makes us better leaders in our own life and in the lives of those around us.
I think the definition or the difference between fulfillment and just existence, right?
Hmm.
Exactly what you just described. That, if we only live in our head,
Yeah,
we literally cut ourselves off from the fullness that this
absolutely.
experience is intended to be. And, you know, gosh, that's such a beautiful image, Sarah. I love it. The second one that
That's my passion, but
on repeat. Yeah, so beautifully said.
thank you. Now, having said this, you work with teachers, you work with other people. Who are your clients? How do you work with them? What is the procedure?
Yeah, so I have made, as you said, a pretty big transition recently, and am bringing my years of differentiation and catering adaptive support to my clients or
Hmm.
customers, used to be students and teachers. And now I am bringing several certifications and leadership experience to helping business owners and leader managers
Hmm.
work through what are the blocks and challenges that
Hmm.
they need just to twist or unlock so that things can flow and they can achieve the dreams that they have and
Hmm.
perhaps even envision new ones. Because
Yes.
sometimes, to be frank, we get stagnated
Yes, we
and
do.
we
Hmm.
stop envisioning what's possible. We just start to be focused on that frustration and stagnation that we are experiencing. So this is such a joy to me, because problem solving is something that literally lights me up in the morning. I love projects, problem
Hmm.
solving, and supporting individuals to find solutions to problems that they face. So, working with business owner leaders, sometimes that's a unique group, but if anybody sort of hears the possibility that they fit inside of that category, then I invite them to reach out to me with the link that I will provide to you to share with people who want to
And
listen.
please give it to us for all the people that are listening and not looking.
So I wish I could tell you that I have a link that I could recite, but what I'll tell you that you could do is visit my website.
Hmm.
Is highyieldcoaching.com. And there it's very repetitive. On each page, you get an opportunity to book a free strategy session with me. If you have a business or a passion that you want to grow and expand, then I would love to sit down and talk with you for a free session and invite you to just click that link and book an appointment. It's very easy to do. The other thing that I do, Sarah, is that I invite individuals to come and be a guest on my show because I
Hmm.
love to help enlighten listeners with
Yes.
simple strategies that other individuals have used and tried to achieve success in their business
Hmm.
or their work. And
Right.
sometimes we treat our new book or this passion project that we have,
Mm.
think wisely like a business because
Yeah.
we absolutely need to get that idea in front of more and
Hmm.
more eyes and ears. So, um, yeah, that's what I offer to individuals, and it's what I'm passionate about doing.
Highyieldcoaching.com. The other thing that came to my mind is that some people think, but I'm not a leader, I'm not a CEO, I'm a manager. You're a leader. If you're
Mhm.
in management, you're in leadership, right? And that management very often bridges, between the kind of the CEOs. Management is essential. How open are you to receiving? How warm and welcoming are you to where people feel they can come to you with a problem, right? That mastering of management is great leadership. So, you don't have to be the business owner. You just could be a manager in a business and want to perfect it more.
Yes, and Sarah, the reason when you mentioned it's so true, I do work with teachers. I don't turn individuals away. And the
Mm,
reason for that is because very often when we are struggling and looking for solutions outside of ourselves, the
yes.
same leadership that the organization leader needs to understand, master, and explore is exactly what that
Mm,
line worker, so to speak, needs. The one who
yes.
is in the trenches doing the job every day can often benefit from strengthening their self leadership, exploring what agency they have to
Hmm.
create change, and very often find freedom, liberty, and more joy in the work that they do. So I started out being trained as a personal life coach. And this is, it's always a delight to work one-on-one with individuals
Yeah.
who are seeking that. Yeah.
And of course, your podcast, Remarkably Simple
Yes.
Podcast. Where can people find that?
So my podcast owns its own URL, I guess you call it, or
Hmm.
domain. So
Hmm.
it is remarkablysimple.co, remarkablysimple.co. And that is also linked on my website, highyieldcoaching.com. It is found on Spotify, on iTunes, on YouTube, iHeartRadio, probably a growing number of other places that are all
Hmm.
synced up that I'm not aware of, but out there all over the internet. So I hope that people will, follow, listen in, and leave some feedback if the site that you
Yes.
listen allows an opportunity for review.
I'm always saying, because I've been doing this 12 years, and people have book clubs, which is wonderful because they're sharing what they got out of the book. I say have podcast clubs. Listen to a podcast, take notes, then share what you got out of it. Suddenly, you've got a rounder picture from all these wonderful different perspectives. And that podcast is giving you so much more because you have integrated everybody else's instrument into that orchestra. So
I love
have a
that.
podcast party. You can have a glass of wine, you can talk about it, and share the wisdom.
Podcast party sounds fantastic, right?
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
and then the teacher and me just perked up because perhaps we all listen to something different and we
Hmm.
bring these insights to the group. We call that a jigsaw strategy.
Yeah,
Each
I love it.
person has
Hmm.
a separate piece and they come and teach what they learned to the other people, perhaps on a different topic, or on the same
Yeah.
topic. Man, that sounds like fun. I am
Yes.
a new podcaster. I started in April, and I guess depending on when people listen, that they won't know when that month was. But it's been about 3 months now, and everything podcast is so exciting to me. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful business strategy, and I do help business owners who want to learn a quick, fast, and easy way to start podcasting with no fuss. I have met the most amazing people and am building authentic, beautiful relationship with potential customers, and collaborators as we discussed before. So it
I
just it's
consider it like a business card. It's a way for people to get to know you. Do I resonate? Do I hear you? Do I feel you? I yes to all of those. Now I want to actually connect with you. So, podcasts are again the inspiration that begets the invitation. And I chose to make it into a career and then now podcast books, as I call them. But then 3,600 shows, it's just the people I've met. When you watch the news and you watch the way the world is going, you think, oh, should I just give up? And then you meet people who are doing the work, that are being the illumination, that are being the light, that have the answers. And when we're willing to listen, learn, and apply, we then become the solution to the world's problems because we've become a solution to our own.
yeah, Sarah, I couldn't say it better than you. And you are such a model for diving into this work and working it, right?
Mhm.
So, I'm so glad that we met because now you are a part of my community, as I shared earlier. So again, the time is never wasted. It is just
Never wasted. The illumination is always there. And that's the thing about it. You know what I hope people get out of today is the understanding the real definition of leadership. Really understanding, yes, it's a responsibility to yourself first, right?
mm,
Because you are a reflection of your inner self to everyone else. Should your leadership be chaotic, should your leadership not be leading down the right way, look to your inner self. And are you actually, being the leader in your own life so you can be a better leader to those that you are here to serve? And we owe that to ourselves and we owe it to everyone else around us that we're working with.
Yes. And I heard you say that this fits in the category of building your business, right?
Yes,
It starts with you.
yes, 100 million%. You are your business.
And yes, you are the business.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
in every aspect of your life too. So yeah, absolutely. And people want to know the passion and the conviction and the truth of who you are, right? We had enough fake news. We want authenticity,
Oh
right?
my
So
God.
mhm,
Propaganda here, right? Like, who are you really? Exactly.
exactly. I want to be able to feel not just the words. I want to be, hear the words. You're saying all the right thing. You're doing all the right actions. Can I feel you?
Yes.
Because if I feel you and I feel that energy and I feel that it's real, then I want to do business with you.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
100%.
This has been wonderful. Thank you so much for being here and sharing. And I'm so glad that you took your years of teaching and then you've brought it because quite honestly, inside all of us is an unruly child that again is just looking, do you approve? Can I do this? Okay, I don't know if I can. And you're there to support that inner child and you're there to support the innovation, but also bring about the structure and how to apply and make it happen. And when our inner child travels with us with a big smile and enthusiasm, we've got somewhere to go. So
Yes. Yes.
definitely. Thank you so much for being here. And to everyone else out there, leadership in your own life, leadership in your family, leadership into everything else that you do, whether you're a volunteer or you're working or you've got a business, it's so important. So I do hope that you re-listen to the show, share it with some people and reach out to Monique, who, if you feel that this is somebody that can help you along the way. But remember, collaboration, compassion, cohesiveness, caringness, kindness, and self love will get you everywhere in life. So until next time, folks, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. There are so many more for you here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Just go to the podcast tag at the top there and you will see all the many genres and all 3,000 shows ready for your listening. We are here to serve you, to help you on your journey of life, and we know that through inspiration, it begets invitation. We are supported by you, the listeners, and those that we interview. Anything that you can spare us in donation would be greatly accepted, and we do hope that you enjoy the next show.